Hi all, and once again, welcome to the free training session of Network Configuration Manager. Today, we'll be looking at the part one of this particular training session, which is configuration backup and disaster recovery. I'm Nikhil Frederick, product expert for ITOM Network Configuration Manager, and I'll be the free trainer for this particular training session. Let me quickly walk you through the agenda of today's session. First, we'll look at why do you need a configuration management tool. Next, we look at some of the requirements for installing Network Configuration Manager. Then we will move on to the functionalities of Network Configuration Manager, which include the device discovery and the various templates supported, the credential utilization, how configuration backups can be used, and how you can upload configurations, how change management works, and finally about the firmware vulnerability management and disaster recovery. So let's move on to our first topic, which is why do you need a configuration management solution? So basically, in a large infrastructure, large network infrastructure, say about which has about more than 1,000 devices, there will be a lot of configuration changes happening on a day-to-day basis, depending upon their growing business needs. So you need to have a clear understanding of who, what, and when of these configuration changes. That is, who has made the change, what was the change, and when this particular change has happened. With this, you can avoid any unauthorized or any unwanted configuration changes being pushed into your production. Also, another key factor is to maintain compliance or stay compliant with industry standards. Network administrators will feel the difficulty to maintain configurations or manage configurations in real time, as well as to maintain compliance without a configuration management solution. So in order to mitigate these hassles, you can utilize the configuration management solution, that is Network Configuration Manager, which can efficiently handle all these functionalities under one roof. So with Network Configuration Manager, you can streamline the configuration maintenance process and take control of your entire lifecycle of device configuration management. Also, you can minimize configuration errors, detect changes in real time. You can roll back to your trusted configuration anytime you want, and stay compliant to industry standard policies such as PCI, SOX, and HIPAA. So what does Network Configuration Manager do exactly? So in this particular slide, I've listed out some of the key functionalities of Network Configuration Manager. So let me quickly walk you through that. The first one is job scheduling. So scheduling is nothing but in a network infrastructure, there will be a lot of tasks that need to be carried out on a daily basis. So administrators cannot remember the exact time and date for this particular device to be executed on that particular date and time. So what the administrator can do is that he can utilize the scheduling option available in Network Configuration Manager, and Network Configuration Manager will automatically perform that operation without the intervention of humans. Next is configuration comparison. You can compare two configurations of same device or different devices side by side. It is also color coded for better readability. You have real-time change detection, configuration roll back to the previous version or version label baseline anytime you want. You have role-based access control, which restricts user privileges and access so that there is no unauthorized or unwanted configuration changes being pushed into production. Also, you have with network configuration managers, admins play the authority, and no changes will go into production without the approval of the admins. So we have change review and approval mechanism. We also have top-notch compliance management, which includes policy, compliance verification, and compliance reports. Also, finally, with its advanced firmware management capabilities, you can upgrade your firmware remotely. You can also manage firmware vulnerabilities before it reaches your device. So this is basically what Network Configuration Manager provides. So now let's look at the minimum system requirements or the prerequisites that you require to install Network Configuration Manager. So you need to have a 2 GHz dual core processor, 4 GB of RAM, 100 GB of storage, PostgreSQL, MS SQL database, and the operating systems that are supported include Windows and Linux. So the above given specifications which you see in this slide are for a network environment which has 50 devices or less. Suppose if you are in a network environment which has more than 50 devices, you can visit our system requirements page given in the link below. Also, I like to say that this particular presentation as well as the recording will be sent to you via email in a couple of days' time. So if you have missed anything or if you've joined late, you don't need to worry about it. So coming to ports and protocols, some of the protocols supported in Network Configuration Manager include SSH, Telnet, SCP, TFTP, SFTP, and REST API. The ports include 69 for TFTP, 22 for SSH, SCP, 514 for syslog, 13306 for Postgres database, and HTTPS works in 8060. So let's move on to the first functionality of network configuration, which is device discovery. So how does this device discovery happen in Network Configuration Manager? So first, as you can see from this slide, the discovery engine of Network Configuration Manager will send out a SNMP request to the devices which have SNMP enabled in them. These devices will in turn ping back a sysobject ID to the discovery rule engine. Once the discovery rule engine gets the sysobject ID, it will match the sysobject ID with the default or custom sysobject ID available. If there is a match found, it will automatically add the device and associate the device to the corresponding device template. If there is no match found, the device will not be added, but you can add it manually anytime you want. So for this particular process, the SNMP profile required a V1, V2, and V3. So in Network Configuration Manager, we have two types of discovery options available, which are SNMP discovery as well as manual addition. Also, there is a third discovery option, which is common to both SNMP discovery and manual addition, which is CSV file import. Suppose you have details of your devices in this particular format as shown below. You can import your CSV file and you can add the devices to the inventory anytime you want. So let me quickly show you this in the UI. So this is the UI of Network Configuration Manager. Currently, we are in the inventory screen. To discover a device, go to Settings, Discovery. So here you can see three options available, IP/hostname, where you can provide a single IP or host name. And if you click on discover, it will get discovered. Here is the IP range, the start IP and end IP. And you can select the credentials and click on discover. Next is the CSV file import. As mentioned before, if you have device details stored in a particular format given in Network Configuration Manager, you can import it by clicking on browse and selecting the credentials and clicking on discover. If you have some doubts regarding this particular format, you can download the sample file by just clicking on this particular button. So let me show an example of IP range. So first, you need to select whether it's an IPv4 address or a v6 address. You can provide the start IP, end IP. You can select the net mask address. You can select the credentials as public, and you can click on discover. So as soon as you click on discover, it will immediately redirect you to the discovery report option. So here you can track in real time what is happening. So for the particular IP range which I have provided, there are about 20 devices. So you can see in real time how whether these 20 devices are getting discovered or not. So now the discovery process has been finished, and you can see the total processed is 20 devices, and the status is shown as 100%. Suppose if there is any device is not getting discovered in this particular, it will just show as 90 or 85% depending on the number. So you can further click on it and you can view whether all the devices are discovered correctly or if any of the devices are not reachable. You can see that some of the devices here is shown as devices not reachable. So you can just click on this particular devices, whichever it's shown like this, and you can just click on add to inventory. You can provide the vendor device template, series, model, and click on add. So these two the devices which are not reachable will be added to the inventory immediately. So next is manual addition. So in the inventory screen, you can just click on this plus symbol provided over here. Here you can see there are two options. One is to add the device and one is to import the device. So in the import device option I've mentioned before, it will be in the CSV file for a CSV format of a particular method. So you can, if you have that particular CSV file, you can just browse it and upload it over here. or else you can add it manually by providing the host name, IP address, the vendor, the corresponding device template for it, the series model, whichever the information which is asked over here, and click on add. So as soon as you click on add, this particular device will be added immediately. So this is about manual addition and about the discovery process in Network Configuration Manager. So here I've listed some of the possible errors that you may come across while discovering your devices in Network Configuration Manager. So the first possible error could be the device is reachable and SNMP community is also correct, but still the device is not getting added. So this is because of two possible reasons, which will be the SNMP read community may be incorrect, or the SNMP will be disabled for the device. You can check the SNMP availability for the device, and you can enable it and try adding the device again, or you can provide the correct SNMP read community and try adding the device again. Also, another possible error could be that device sysobject ID not mapped with any of the device template. So in this case, you can add a new sysobject ID to device template from the sysobject ID finder in the settings. Also, if the no default device template is available in Network Configuration Manager for the particular device type, you can add or clone a new device template anytime you require. Or if you face any difficulties, you can contact NCM support. They'll be happy to help you. So next, we'll move on to device templates. So what are device templates and why are these used? So as I mentioned before, in a large network infrastructure, there'll be a lot of devices. So in a multi-vendor supporting network infrastructure, there won't be a single vendor supporting all the network devices. They will have multiple vendors such as Palo Alto, Juniper, Fortinet, Netgear, Brocade, etc. So each of these devices, each of these vendors will have different configuration settings. So administrators without a proper configuration management tool cannot remember all the configuration settings of every device individually. So in order to mitigate this hassle and in order to make your job easier, we have developed a device template mechanism with which you can simply have predefined commands such as configuration backup, configuration upload, enable disable syslog change detection, fetching hardware information, etc. So let me show you this in the UI. Go to config automation and click on device templates. So as you can see, these are the created device templates senior. So for this particular device type, that is Cisco iOS router device type, you can see there are 47 devices below this. So you can, if you are adding another Cisco iOS router to your network infrastructure, you can immediately clone this particular device template, and you can use it to the newly added Cisco iOS router. You can also view the particular router, you can clone it, you can also export it. So you can export this particular device template, make some configuration changes if you require, and then you can click on this particular import box and then import it. To create a new device templates, just click on the plus symbol provided here. You can provide the device template name, the description, OS type, the vendor, the device type, and click on next. And you can add, once this particular device details are added, it will be shown as seen here. So as you can see, these are CLI device templates. We also support REST device templates for FortiOS, PAN-OS, Arista, HP, pfSense. We are also working on providing support for more vendors in REST device templates. Here in the shared device templates, you can see which device template was shared by whom and when it was shared. So this is basically about device templates in Network Configuration Manager. So next we'll move on to credentials. So the possible combinations for protocol for backup credentials include SSH Telnet, SSH TFTP, Telnet TFTP, SSH SCP, SNMP TFTP, SFTP, and finally REST API. So here's a quick example of an SSH Telnet protocol in Network Configuration Manager. So first what happens is that NCM will establish a communication between itself and the device. So it will send configuration backup commands via SSH to the device. The device will in turn send the device configuration using Telnet, and it will be encrypted and stored in the database. So this is about SSH and Telnet. Next is an example of SSH SCP, where Network Configuration Manager will send the config backup commands using SSH, and the configuration file transfer will happen via SCP protocol. So this will go to SCP server, and then it will be encrypted and stored as a file in the NCM database. So here's another example similar to it, which is SSH Telnet TFTP. So here is another different example, which is SNMP TFTP. So here there will be no communication channel. Instead, NCM will send an SNMP request for configuration backup, and the device will initiate the configuration file transfer using the TFTP protocol. It will directly reach the TFTP server, and then it will be encrypted and stored in the database. So now a question may arise for you that how can we provide these credentials? So there are various methods with which you can provide this particular credentials. Suppose if you want password and enable password to be configured, as you can see from this example, on the left is the telnet putty and on the right is the network configuration manager screen. So you can see over here the password, the enable password and enable prompt are enabled for this particular example. Next is if you want to directly go to enable mode, you can also do that by providing the login name and password specifically for the particular device. Also, here is an example of a 3COM router where the login name and password is provided. So once you have provided the details, you can click on save and test. So this will be helpful for you to test whether this particular credential is working or if there is any issue with this particular credential. And then you can save it finally once it is successful. So let me show you this in the UI. You can go to config automation and click on credentials. Here you can see some of the created credentials, so you can, to create a new one, you can click on the plus symbol over here, provide the name, description, the SSH credentials, telnet credentials, SNMP, etc., and click on save. So once this is done, you can find a key icon next to a device. So this will be the credential. You can just click on it and you can see over here for this particular device, the protocol is selected as SSH, and the primary, additional, and REST API details are provided over here. You can provide the required details as suggested, and you can click on save and test. So this is how you apply credentials in Network Configuration Manager. So for credentials also, there could be some possible errors that may occur. So one is the credentials are valid, but the file transfer is failed. So in that case, the TFTP or SCP servers may not have started. So you can check the running status of those two servers, and you can, if suppose it's not running, you can run it again and restart the Network Configuration Manager and try again. So next we'll move on to an important topic of Network Configuration Manager, which is configuration backup. So backups are really essential for network infrastructures to immediately recover from an unforeseen network downtime. So without backup, it's basically very difficult for network administrators to search for a better configuration file and then upload it. It will take days or months time, and which the particular network organization will not have. So we can back up configurations in Network Configuration Manager in three methods. One is the instant or single bulk backup. Another one is real-time change detection or automated configuration backup. And next is scheduled backup. So let me show an example of instant backup. So you can just click on whichever device you require and click on the three dots icon over here and click on backup. This immediately will trigger the backup of this particular device. You can select any number of devices from this particular screen and click on backup, and it will be initiated for all those devices immediately. So this is instant or bulk backup. Next is a real-time change detection or automatic backup. So as you can see from this particular screen, even if you're not available or even if you're not physically present, Network Configuration Manager will keep an eye on configuration changes for you. So if an admin logs in and logs out from a particular device, there may be a change made to the particular device. We may never know. But Network Configuration Manager will immediately back up, and it will automatically compare the two configurations side by side to see if there is any change made to the configuration. So this all will be done by Network Configuration Manager itself without the need for any human intervention. So this is the working mechanism of this particular automatic backup mechanism in Network Configuration Manager. As you can see here, user is present. the user makes some changes and exits from the device, say a router, the syslog listener will listen for a particular message, which is the logout message. Once the logout message is found, it will immediately trigger a configuration backup and the file will be backed up. Then network configuration manager will compare this backed up file with the previous available configuration file side by side. So if suppose a line or if any something is added newly, it will immediately back up the it'll keep the backup as a new version. If suppose there is no backup detected for that particular it means that the user has not made any changes. He has just logged in and logged out of the device. So in that case, a backup is not necessary and it will discard the backup. So to do that, you need to enable change detection for devices. So whichever devices you require, you just click on it and click on enable change detection over here. So as you can see here, the syslog server IPs are provided over here. The vendor name, the logging level, the selected devices are provided, and click on update. As soon as you click on update for these two devices, the change detection will be enabled. And from next time onwards, network configuration manager will keep a keen eye on these two devices if there is any changes made or not. This will be crucial for if you have any core devices in your network infrastructure, you can enable this particular option so that if you're not physically present, network configuration manager will take care of the backup process. This is about the enable change detection option. So some of the possible errors that may occur is that you can see on the right hand side, the following device does not support configuration detection through syslog. This is because the particular model doesn't support any syslog, doesn't support syslog. To fix this, you can enable syslog by connecting to the device and executing the enable syslog command manually. If you're facing difficulties, you can contact NCM support for this also. Another possible error is that change detection is enabled, but change is not getting detected. So in that case, some of the common causes could be the ports may be mismatched, or you can check whether the NCM syslog server is running perfectly in the NCM server settings, etc. Next is scheduled backup. So as I mentioned before, some of the tasks required to be executed on a day-to-day basis, such as backup. So administrators cannot remember that this device's backup need to be taken at this time. So what you can do is you can just click on this particular devices, which are core devices which require backup on a day-to-day basis, and click on schedule. So as you can see here, you can provide the schedule name. The devices selected are given over here. So this option is for report notification. So once the schedule operation is completed, network configuration manager will will prepare a report. Suppose if you want that report to be sent immediately to you, you can select this option as send email option. You can provide the email addresses here. You can provide multiple email addresses separated by comma. You can provide the email subject over here, and then you can proceed. Suppose if you don't want to receive any notifications, you are okay to log into network configuration manager and view the reports. You can just click on save the report option, and then you can proceed. What happens here is that after this operation gets finished, network configuration manager will save the report, and at the next time you log in, you can view it in the report section. So here are some of the scheduling options supported in network configuration manager: hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, or just once. So you can select whichever you require and you click on save. After clicking on save, this particular backup operation for this particular device will be saved for that particular moment. So even if you're not present, network configuration manager will automatically perform the backup operation of that particular device at the exact time, so that you don't miss out on any of the configuration backup functions of any of the devices. So this is about scheduled backup. So in scheduled backup, there is a failure, the particular device credentials may be incorrect. That is one of the possible reasons. So you can check for the credentials and you can make sure it's correct. So here I've listed some of the backup failure common causes. So one is that credentials are changed or invalid. The backup may not be successful, or if the ports blocked or TFTP or server SCP server is not started, then it will be a failure. If the configuration file is very huge, you can change the timeout settings in the corresponding device template, and then you can perform backup. Unsupported backup commands, that is, you can, if there are any commands that are not supported, you can edit the commands in the device template or create a new device template by cloning the closest template and try backing up the device again. Next, we'll move on to change management. So change management is very crucial because you need to know who, what, and when of the configuration changes, as I mentioned before. Who made the change, what are the changes, and when was this change made. So this will prevent from any unauthorized or unnecessary changes being moved into production, which will eventually lead to network downtime. So in order to mitigate that, NCM has an advanced change management capabilities where you can view all the changes made in a device. You can, it suppose automatic configuration versioning. That is, if any changes made to a configuration file, it is immediately saved as a new version with a version number. You can know the who, what, and when of each change. You can also view the historical change trend of a device. Suppose at August 25, I need to know what change was done. You can view that also, and you can view it month wise, week wise, etc. Also, you can view the number of modified, deleted, and added configuration lines as well. So let me show you that in the UI. Go to a particular device's snapshot page. If you scroll down, you can find configuration changes. So here you can see there are about 67 versions of running configurations and about 36 versions of startup configurations. So you can just click on this particular device and you can see what was the change. So here in this particular version, there were 3 modified lines. You can just click on these 3 lines and you can see that these 3 lines were modified over here. So this is how you can view the configuration changes done to a particular device in Network Configuration Manager. Next is comparing configurations. Suppose there is an issue in a particular device. If you want to arrive at the root cause for that particular issue, you can compare 2 devices configuration side by side, and you can see which line is troublesome or which line has been added newly, modified newly, which is the root cause of this issue. So in order to do that, you can just go to inventory. You can see a plus symbol over here. Just click on it. You can see here configuration diff view. You can select the device whichever you require. You can select the version number. So I've selected the same device but different version numbers. So as you can see here, the devices, if any changes are made to this particular device, it will be immediately reflected over here. Let me try a different device. So yeah, so as you can see here, these are all the modified lines present here. About 9,000 lines were modified for these 2 devices configuration files. So you can select any of the devices and you can view the particular lines which are getting modified or deleted. So this is about configuration comparison. Next, we'll move to firmware vulnerability management. So firmwares are also critical for your network infrastructures. So Network Configuration Manager will get real-time information from NIST, and it will keep the Network Configuration Manager's database updated with the latest firmware vulnerabilities every day, so that you don't miss out on any of the new vulnerabilities that have come. So it will also list the devices that are vulnerable. You can apply patch fixes to them. You can perform advanced CVE search, can generate vulnerability reports also using Network Configuration Manager. So let me show you this. As you can see here, you have firmware vulnerabilities option over here. So if you click on it, you can view the total vulnerabilities that are present and how many are critical, how many exploits are available, and vulnerabilities discovered in the last 7 days. You can view over here. So here you can see a CV ID has been given over here. The base score is given, device count, how many devices are affected with this particular CV ID is given. The severity level is given as critical over here. So these are all the some of the links that are given that may have the possible patch fixes. So you can visit any of the links and apply the patch fixes. You can also view a short overview of this particular CVE ID, what will be the issue if this occurs, etc. Suppose if there is a lag in the update, suppose network configuration manager doesn't have a new CVE ID updated over here, you can update anytime by clicking on request update the vendor OS type OS version, click on submit, and NCM support team will immediately revert back to you with the updated CVE ID and its details. So I was talking about the firmware vulnerability management. So here you can see the exposed devices tab. You can view the host name. You can view the test addresses, etc. So from this screen, you can view the version distribution from this screen. You can sync the vulnerability database. And what is this is because every time at 3 a.m. in the morning, network configuration manager will automatically get the data from NIST. So you can change the time anytime you want from this particular screen. We also support manual import option, where for some closed networks, you can provide a file and a checksum, and you can import the data of the particular device. So this is how firmware vulnerability management works. And as I mentioned before, this is firmware vulnerability DB sync. So by 2 a.m., I'm sorry, I mentioned 3 a.m. It's 2 a.m. every night. By default, NCM will automatically have the data updated from NIST. So you can also import it manually, as I mentioned. So next, we'll move on to disaster recovery. So if a disaster occurs in a particular network, you will have performance degradation, you'll have network outage as well as security breach. So how can you be prepared for this particular baseline config? How to be prepared from this disaster recovery? You can have a baseline configuration configured. You can check whether the startup and running configurations are in sync. You can select whether the change notification and rollback option can enable the change notification and rollback option. You can export configurations as well. So with this, you can be prepared if suppose an unforeseen network disaster occurs. So first is a baseline configuration. So what is this baseline configuration? So baseline configuration is nothing but a stable configuration of a particular device, which can be uploaded during a network disaster time. Suppose, for example, you have version number 56 as your current configuration, and you label version number 55 as baseline configuration. If there is an error that occurs in version number 56, you can immediately find out that version number 55 is the baseline configuration, and you can immediately upload it to the particular device, bringing the device back up. So for this purpose, you need to label the particular configuration as baseline. So let me show you this example. Let me log into. So from here, you can just select any of the devices which you require, and you can just select this 3 button over here, and you can select as label configuration. So it will move on to a screen where you can associate a label. So from here, you can give the label as baseline and click on save. So what happens is that this device's current running configuration will be immediately labeled as baseline configuration. Suppose if you don't want the current configuration to be configured as baseline, you have a specific configuration version in your mind that needs to be a baseline version. What you can do is you can just click on the device. From the device snapshot page, you can view the version numbers and configuration changes that have happened. Suppose if you are having that version number 230 is the best match for baseline configuration, you can just click on that particular version, and you can select the 3 icons present over here, and you can click on set as baseline. So what happens is that this particular version will be labeled as baseline. Also, once this is done, you can upload the configurations anytime you want from the inventory screen. Suppose if there is any issue in this particular device, you can select the device, you can check on these 3 buttons, and you can click on upload config. So as you can see here, for this particular device, the baseline versions are 234 for both startup and running. So these two will here. So these two will be uploaded immediately to the particular device. So this is about baseline configuration. Next is some of the possible errors, which include that Telnet SSH protocol doesn't upload the upload. So you can edit the credential and change the protocol and see. If when SCP TFT protocol is used, you can device vendor supports, but NCM device template doesn't have upload commands for specific device. You can create or clone a new device template accordingly, and then try uploading the configurations again, or you can contact NCM support. Other possible error is during upload. So if there is a command timeout, you can change the timeout in the device template and try out again. You can, based on the protocol, you can check the whether the TFTP and SCP servers are running in server, and then try again. Next is startup running configuration sync. So why these two configurations need to be in sync always? Because whenever running configurations, as you know, are stored in RAM. So it's a random access memory. If suppose there is a sudden network outage, or if the device gets rebooted, the running configurations will be lost immediately upon reboot. So what you can do is the changes which you have made in running configurations, you can sync it with startup configurations so that it will be available anytime if suppose any issue occurs also. So how NCM helps with this? So it detects conflicts. If there is any startup running conflict, it will immediately tell you that there is a conflict between these two configurations, and immediately you can resolve it. It automatically syncs the configurations also. So this is about startup running configuration changes. So suppose the possible error for that is that if a change happens but startup running conflict is not detected by NCM in real time. So this means that you have disabled the real-time change detection, or the real-time change detection is not enabled. So you can enable change detection and check if this syslog is supported. If syslog is not supported, the conflict will be detected and reported after next successful scheduled backup or manual backup operations. And depending upon that, you can take action necessary. Next is change notification and rollback. So if you want to receive immediate notifications of any changes happening in your network, you can utilize this particular option. Network configuration manager supports email, SNMP trap, trouble tickets, as well as syslog change notifications. Also, we have rollback options where for a particular device, you don't need any changes to be moved. So you can enable this rollback option in that particular device. So if there is any change detected in particular device, NCM will automatically roll back to the previous version or the baseline version, depending on the option selected by you. So let me show you this in option. Go to config automation, click on change notifications. So here to create a new one, just click on plus over here. So here I can provide the notification name, a short description, what is the config type, the change type, and here you can give the email, whether it should be email, SNMP trap, syslog, or tickets. So here is the rollback option. So you can enable this whether you need rollback, whether it needs to be rolled back to the previous version or roll back to the version label baseline. You can select any one of the options and you can click on next. So for that particular for the devices which you have selected, this particular rollback option will be enabled, and no changes will be pushed to production, and it will be immediately get rolled back to the previous version on the version label baseline. So with this, you can safeguard your network configurations. Next is export configurations. So if suppose there is a particular NCM, there is an error in your network infrastructure. So what you can do in that time is that network these export configurations will be helpful to you. So you can store it in your devices, and you can import it anytime you want. So this will be in the readable format. It will be stored in the NCM server, and you can also schedule this export configuration feature. So that is all about today's session. Hope you found it useful. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the Q&A panel. Our panelist will answer it to you. Also, I'd like to inform you that NCM is now FIPS compliant. If you want to know more details about this, you can visit this page, give a page which you have created. Our panelist member will also share the link to you. You can also utilize that page to know that NCM is now FIPS compliant. Suppose if you are an NCM customer, you can receive a $25 gift card by sharing your experience on Capterra. So you can just utilize this particular site. You can just click on write a review, and it will take you to the review slide. Our panelist member will now share the review link right now. You can also provide your review and earn a $25 gift card. So that is all for part one. So in part two, we'll be covering about config-led compliance, role-based access control, and reports. So this is the agenda which we'll be covering in the part two, which covers in detail about the scheduling, the compliance, role-based access control, and about the various reports in Network Configuration Manager. Please be available for this part also, so that you can gain an overall insight about Network Configuration Manager. So let's keep in touch. So if you have any queries, you can reach to ncmsupport@manageengine.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Op Manager Tech Videos, where we upload all the how-to videos and training videos. So this particular training video will also be uploaded in this particular channel. So if you want to view this particular recording, you can do that anytime by going to this particular YouTube channel. You can also connect with us on LinkedIn. With Manage Engine IT Operations, where we provide the latest news on tech related topics. And also you can anytime reach us at forums.manageengine.com/network configuration manager for any type of discussion. So thank you all. If you have any queries, you can reach out to me or NCM support@manageengine.com.